what is important, particularly for Black people, Erin, to be in community with animals, but horses in particular? What is the value of that?
The power of the horse is what I find myself saying quite often. And as a matter of fact, there is a quote, the outside of a horse does something great for the inside of a man, by Winston Churchill. So the power of the horse, and it speaks for itself. Horses are healing. So as Michael was just saying, it was, therapeutic for the horse to be exercised and ridden around by him. It was also therapy for himself through situations that he may have been going through, myself. And I think a lot of us share the same story in that sense.
How though? I mean, you're galloping. You're on a horse's back. There's something about I feel with all of the restraints, the bits in the mouth. Like I hate to see something like that because I feel a kinship as a Black person. Tamed. I hate broken. I hate that term. Breaking a horse. Having that bit in the mouth and being forced to do things. Help me reconcile with that, Erin, and also Michael.
It's not, well, we don't call it breaking a horse or taming a horse. We call it becoming one with the horse. That's what we call it, becoming one with the horse. It's like a trade-off. It's like a trade-off. You training the horse, this and that, to become this, loving animal, showing him the love too. At the same time, y'all gaining each other trust. Y'all gaining each other trust, because at one point when you breaking this horse, you are going to have to get on this horse back, and you show him the love and affection that he needs, and just let him know that everything's going to be all right and stuff and everything like that. The trust starts to build every day that you hands on. It take repetition, hands on every day with this horse, and then it's not taming them. It's really becoming one with them, because once that horse accepts you and let you get on, mount their back, it's like a feeling of no other. Like you become one with the horse, and that's not a lie, because when you get on a horse, you want to be nice and calm and everything, because all of your energy that you're feeling, the horse can feel it too, because you're on their back. So if you up there, you shaking, and you know what I mean, like they can feel the tenseness. You get up there, you relax, and sometimes they even let you know that it's gonna be all right. So we don't call it taming or stuff like that. We just becoming one with the horse.
Is that different than the way other people perceive the relationship? The way y'all perceive the relationship, is it different? Are we taught? Are we in our community teaching a different relationship than other folk might be when they deal with the same beast, the same animal? Erin?
I grew up, I think we all grew up with the sense that you have to break a horse, like you just said. And, it's you're the quote unquote master, and they have to do what you say. And to bounce off of what Mike just said, that is also the purpose of concrete horsemanship, because, you should want a horse to be a willing partner with you and not force them to do anything. You should want them to do, to be a willing partner, to want to work with you, to want to work beside you, and to have that understanding where you're not forcing them to do, anything. So, yes, we can go old school back in the day and make them do a whole lot of things, but, we teach and train to have willing partners.
I love it. The concrete cowboy. Right now, people in Philly through the pandemic. I'm curious how you managed, how the horses managed. What was what changed, and how did it what pivots did you guys have to make during the pandemic and even now?
It didn't really. It only we had to mask up like everybody else, keep our social distance, but them horses still had to eat every day through that pandemic. So We still had to get up in the morning and make sure the horses ate and stuff like that. So we really didn't change too much. We just had to adjust with society, what was going on.
And how is it now? You know, in the movie, Concrete Cowboy, starring, of course, Idris Elba, which I discovered during the pandemic, because I think it was on. It still is. It's on Netflix, right? It's on
Yes.
Netflix. All right. They, you know, the city kept coming in, and then there was like fees, and then not to give away too much, but there was a lot of conflict to keep it open. Is it still conflict? Developers wanting the land, you know, like all of the back and forth. Is it still that way?
Well, yes, the developers, they came and built some quite gorgeous homes on the vacant lot. And at the end of filming Concrete Cowboy, Pura was in its initial stages. So any horses that we had remaining on Fletcher Street, we did move to a private boarding facility so we can we've been in partnership with the city to create this forever home, something that cannot be taken from us.
Where is that?
That is going to be in the Cobbs Creek section of Philadelphia. It was once a bocce court that we are converting into a barn. So it is Parks and Recreation's property, and they're allowing us to utilize that space with a long-term lease. And it's still in the middle of a residential neighborhood, just like Fletcher Street, but it also backs up into Cobbs Creek Park, which is gigantic. So it has trails and plenty of space for the horses. And also something that we don't have to, again, worry about losing to redevelopment and or gentrification.
We're talking with Erin Brown, who's the executive director of the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy, which is Pura. We're talking with Michael Upshur, who's also a member of Pura. He's a board member, instrumental in all of the future happenings. You can follow her at Concrete Cowgirl, at Concrete Cowboy Official on the IG. I think Concrete Cowgirl is your Twitter handle, and at Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy on IG. And you can go to the Pura, Pura.org, thepura.org. Where are the horses? And before I get into that, Michael, your favorite horse to ride ever, and why?
My favorite ever, that would have to be this. I had a little 3-year-old thoroughbred. Her name was I called her Misha, and the reason why really was because for her to be coming off the track, the racetrack, around all that commotion and everything like that, she was just the most calmest horse. Like when I rode her through the streets and everything, I thought she would be like a lot more jumpy and all that, but she just gave me the nice, calmest ride. And people used to be looking at me when I'm riding. The guys that I'm riding with were like, yo, Misha really chilling. Like, but it was like you could, like she had an on and off switch. When she was on that track, she was, flighty. She just knew what's going on, like it's time to run. But it's like, maybe, I guess when the asphalt or, the concrete touched her feet, she knew it was time to chill. That was the best horse that I liked, the ride that I owned. It was Misha.
Erin, your craziest time with a horse. Tell us a story.
Oh boy. I was still on Fletcher Street at the time. I was maybe 18 or so. And I was going to another barn that's close by. It's called Work to Ride. And I was going there to use the arena to get ready for a horse show. So I don't like bridges. And I remember, going across the bridge. My horse at the time was Dollar. And he, we get halfway across the bridge and, he just, something sets him off and he's spinning, doing all different types of acrobatics on this bridge with water under it. And so, cars go over this bridge as well. And my mom calls me, and she was also, for some reason, going through the park. And she said, yeah, I'm going through the park. Traffic is backed all the way up to 33rd Street, which is like a mile away. And I said, because I'm on the bridge and, Dollar is having a moment, can't talk. And she said, get off, just get off. And I told her I couldn't because he was moving too fast. And if I would have got off, he would have, spun around and stepped on me, knocked me over, there was no safe space to get off. So I knew I just had to sit there and wait it out, and cars slowly, yeah, the cars slowly drove by. My mom caught up, and she said, so you're the reason all this traffic.
Wow. That you were able to answer your phone while you're on the horse too. That's kind of
yeah. It was
as we think about scare, Christopher Reeves, on a horse, ended up paralyzed. It's not dangerous. What you're just talking about. There are perils and mishaps that can happen because you're still dealing with the unpredictability of an animal. How do you train people to not have problems? Because y'all don't have a whole lot of those stories. I know there's a couple people that ended up in a wheelchair, what have you, here or there, or even folk that have come into Pura or into a concrete cowboy situation with disabilities that the horses became therapy for them, as you mentioned, Michael. How do you keep people safe, Erin?
Well, first of all, again, going back to horsemanship, and I know the rider's ability. I can tell, what they have, what they're capable of, and what they're scared to show that they're capable of. And you match them up with a horse with, a similar personality, or a horse that, is going to take care of them. And horses have bad days like people, but for the most part, you can get a pretty good grip on how they're feeling that morning, that day. And, I do have, I had one student, her name is Fatima. She was a little timid girl, but she was, a natural, and she always wanted to, ride ponies, but she was like a leggy girl. She was 12 years old, 13, but she had some long legs. So I put her on a horse that I knew would be challenging. Hercules was exactly what his name says. And, she threw a fit, and, her dad, he trusted that to just let me do what I do. And Fatima ended up falling in love with Hercules, and they had a bond like I've never seen together. Well, anyone with that horse, rather. And so I knew she had it in her. It's just the right time, the right situation to pull it out.
Michael Upshur, we're talking also, of course, with Erin Brown. You've been doing this for 30 years, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
What is a show? Walk us through, for those who've never seen Concrete Cowboy, they don't know anything about Black people riding horses on the streets of Philadelphia or in like what can they expect from a show?
Well, I mean, just to see a bunch of guys. Most of the time we come down in the morning. A day we about to ride, everybody meet up at the barn in the morning.
You're talking about a horse show? Sorry.
Yes, a horse
okay.
show.
Oh, a horse show.
Yes.
Oh.
What is the show?
A horse show. So there's various riding disciplines. Some you're jumping obstacle courses and fences. There some where you're running around some barrels like a bed out of what. And then there are there are different events that are judged by a panel of judges on horse and rider. sometimes just rider, sometimes just the horse, sometimes just the time. You're going against the time clock. And one of the horses we've been showing this year, it's a halter class, and basically a halter class is judging the horse's conformation and how how they're put together, or which is how they're put together, and they're standing with all 4 feet square. And it's basically like a beauty pageant with horses, if you will.
So how much does this cost? When I think about horses, I think of equestrians, and I think millions of dollars because it costs a lot to feed a horse. One horse costs a lot to feed, right? And then you got the people that got to clean the stables, and then they got to be brushed, and they got there's a lot of work around horses, right? How much is one horse, the upkeep of one horse, and then you have a lot of them, Erin and Michael. How much?
It depends if you're doing full care, which is basically can be viewed as a boarding school, and you're sending a horse away sending a horse to a full care facility, which provides everything. Their 2 meals, their room cleaned, their stall cleaned, and turned out to pasture. So full board or full care typically is now in Philadelphia somewhere about $550, $675, $800, depends on the facility. Self-care, which we've always done, and for the Urban Black Cowboy, self-care is usually like maybe $175 tops, but you're also responsible. Yes. Okay. You're also responsible for the daily care, the feeding twice a day, the stall cleaning, and you're also responsible for buying the hay, the grain, the bedding. So you self-care, you end up saving a little more, but you also build a better relationship with your horse, in my opinion, because it is you that is doing the work every day and handling this horse every day, and not someone else.